Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I am going to be struggling today. I'm just going to warn all of you. I have mouth pain. I don't know why. It just is happening. I think I have some kind of dental issue that needs to be taken care of. I went to the dentist this morning because I haven't slept in 3 days because my pain up and down the left side of my face. He didn't see anything obvious, so I have to go to a specialist tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Joy.
Yeah.
That's a fun one.
And I have a bad feeling they're going to tell me I need to do something. So I don't want to do anything that opens up my face. So I'm going to ask for your patience today. My hot takes might be a little cold.
Open face surgery.
Open face surgery. I've had open face surgery before. I had jaw surgery like 20 years ago. And if you saw a X-ray of my face, it's like you'd think it's Frankenstein. Like it's crazy looking, like what's in my jaw. And the dentist thinks it's possible that some of that hardware is not where it's supposed to, or has gotten infected or something. And if that's happened, see you next week, guys.
Great.
Yeah. So I might have open face surgery tomorrow, or they may tell me, take this pill, you'll be fine tomorrow.
Yeah,
so all of that could be happening. But I'm tired. I'm ornery. My face hurts badly. They did give me the Uber Advil this morning, so that's been pretty good. It like tempers
Slept
it.
a little bit.
Slept a little bit.
All right.
You know, I'm not a nap person. I'm napping at noon. That wasn't good.
Oh, no.
So it's all bad, guys. It's all bad today.
You know, Bethesda has dispensaries these days. I would just
I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I'm just saying. You know, if you want to sleep, that would be my recommendation.
Maybe. Maybe.
What's the strongest thing you got here, guys?
I wouldn't be here if I went that route. I wouldn't be. I'd be sleeping right now. You'd be like, "Where are you?"
Yeah. No, I'm aware. Like I said, after the show.
And I like to do the you can't notify me on my phone thing. I do the do not disturb.
Oh, you do the do not disturb. Got it.
There's only a couple people that get the pass through and get to go around that. I block everybody.
You can hit the notify anyway button though. That is a thing. So I would probably.
I'd have to make an exception for you.
Yeah. Okay.
And I haven't done that yet. I've only made an exception for my wife and kids.
And
my mother.
Right.
That's it. They can get through no matter what. Everyone else, you got to go through the portal, and then I'll decide.
I didn't mean to bring his name up this early, but I had to teach Ben Raby about this. Happy birthday, Ben Raby, by the way. 40 today.
He's a man. He's 40.
He's a man. He's 40.
Yeah.
Is going to be convoluted way that I'm going to get to it. But Ben still DVRs games if he can't watch them live. So he's a big Duke basketball fan. And
you've told me this, that he doesn't want to know the score.
Correct.
Right.
So
he stays off Twitter somehow so that he doesn't see the score?
Correct. He mutes the word. He has a whole system of how he doesn't see what happens, essentially. But what has ruined...
He didn't go to Duke, right?
No, he went to Syracuse.
Oh, okay.
Make it make sense.
He's
Whatever.
Canadian, right?
Right, yeah. So,
okay.
Guess who was on TV? But I had to teach him because his dad has ruined scores or outcomes on the regular, forgetting Ben can't watch some nights. So I taught him how to mute do the do not disturb thing, but he didn't want to do that because he didn't want his wife to think
Well, you make an exception.
Yes. He didn't
You can make exceptions. I found this out recently.
He had no idea what any of it was, so I was a full walkthrough of how you do this.
I learned there was the exception rule not that long ago and then implemented it for the people that need to have the implementation of it. Like my daughter needs to be able to get a hold of me.
Of course. Absolutely.
Can't be like...
Do not disturb. Yeah.
Right. Do not disturb.
Can't do that.
I know.
No, right.
I know.
Exactly. So it was, but when I told him about the setting, it was like, the what now?
Hey, he's like, huh?
You don't even know that? I was like, what do you mean you don't know what this is?
Like, what is that?
Anyways.
Let's see. Let's start with Fallout, or not Fallout, but here we are, the new world where the Lerners keep the Nationals in perpetuity. And we've got two specific pieces about that. One from Barry Svrluga, who I enjoy reading about the Nationals because it's clearly his passion.
Correct. Yes.
He is young Boz. If Boz was Sheldon, he's young Sheldon, right? We're Big Bang Theory is baseball in that newsroom. The two prominent columnists love that sport more than anything else. Barry does spread himself around, but he ain't down at the Commanders as often as you would think that the lead columnist at the Washington Post would be. And I'm not saying that to be disparaging. I'm just saying I know what his love is, and that's fine. That's totally fine.
I would say Boz, though, a lot of times was just happy to be there, though. A lot more positive.
Boz was like, I've been waiting a long time for this to come back, and now that it's here, I'm just kind of happy that it's here, and like kind of no matter what happens, I'm good because I just have my game back.
And no one writes
got my toy back.
No one writes the baseball is beautiful articles like Boz. He's might be the best ever at doing it in this area, which is saying something. But Barry's got like the hidden knife on the ankle, like James Bond style. You got to worry sometimes when Barry's walking around. Barry
had to spend a lot of time not having baseball here and going after Dan Snyder, and, you know, the knife is sharp.
Well, and like...
So, you know, he clearly loves being in Florida, too, and walking around and watching spring training, but he will shank people.
Correct, exactly.
Don't mess with him in the yard.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right.
Boz doesn't want any trouble.
Right.
You know,
Boz is the Pope.
Yeah. Yes. He's the Pope. Right. Barry's kind of like, I love you guys, but if you look at me cross, I am going to stab you. And in this case, I don't think he really did that.
No,
he just basically was kind of like, you're keeping it. That's fine. If you're going to be, you know, hands-on owners of a big market team again, wink, 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 which is like a shot across the bow of, we on good terms again now, or no? Why don't you tell me what's going on here?
It's very much Goodfellas energy of like, Karen, go pick out a dress. Yeah. Just walk down there.
Just go down there. It's right there. No, good.
You guys are going to do that, right?
Oh, so he's like, oh, you guys are all in again. Yeah. That's great.
That's great.
Oh, I've been waiting to hear from you guys. That's great. You going to get some players?
Yes, right.
Oh, all right. Okay. You know, so it really was a very passive aggressive. Okay.
Right.
You know, you've left me out. Like, that was an interesting game plan you had that for 2 years, I wasn't sure if you were going to sell the team or not.
Right. Exactly.
Which kind of left me in the position of, well, I can't criticize if you do anything or don't do anything because I don't know whether you're going to be the owners.
Right.
The only thing I can criticize you for is I don't know whether you're going to be the owners or not.
You also...
Now that you're saying you are, well, I'm going to change my tune and go, that's great. Now, show me what the game plan is.
And as I said, I think you need to go behind the curtain just a little bit to say, what persuaded you to do this? Is it that you love baseball again? Is it that you guys were talking with the family? Is it that the Masson thing looks to be over with? I would like to know the reasoning behind this instead of just, we just decided we wanted to be baseball owners again. Because the last 2 years, I kind of need a reason of why you haven't invested a dime.
Was the Ted thing with Virginia something that they went, you know what? Like, that might not go very well right now.
We can't touch you. You're nuclear right now.
Yeah, I mean, crazy Louise doesn't like that. Crazy Louise ain't into that. She's my new favorite politician.
Her tweet today was...
I'm going to get to that in a bit. Yeah. It's amazing. She's like, she should be on First Take.
I mean,
she's full on. She's like, she's got the hot takes ready.
I don't know if she wants to move the ranks, but she has my support.
Like, Chap from Fairfax, he sucked. Yeah. Like, his takes were terrible.
We'll build an off-ramp for you.
We'll build an off-ramp for you. Oh, will you? And it's so silly. In the face of $1.5 billion being allocated for sports teams. Okay, Chap, got it, right? Got it. Louise, no. Louise is killing it. Whoever's doing her social media, you guys are king.
Yes, correct. Yeah. Someone's getting a promotion off that.
Oh, yeah. If that's just her pulling that,
Biden's people are like, you're making an 80-year-old black woman look that good? We need you on our team.
Yeah, she's like, they're like, let's make her vice president. Right. America's going to love her. That's right. They're going to love her.
Putin will love dealing with her.
Yeah, love it. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to see her tweets to him. I'm old enough to remember, like, oh, God.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Here we go, Jim.
Yeah. Hey, you ever watch Rocky IV? Let's go. That'd be amazing.
That'd be incredible.
Anyway, all right, so Barry's piece was passive-aggressive, but I thought a good passive-aggressive, where he starts with this. There's more to wonder about than revel in after Mark Lerner's announcement that his family is no longer pursuing a sale to Washington Nationals. Start with this. What is the level of commitment to rebuilding the organization in baseball, in fan experience, in every aspect?
Yep.
It's a great first paragraph because they are all on the table.
Yep, correct.
They have not invested in the on-the-field product in a couple of years.
Yep.
Not since they decided to basically rip down to the studs whatever they could of what was on the World Series team that was movable parts, and they were like really significant movable parts.
Right.
I don't want to go down the road of how angry it makes me about a couple of them, but
Sure.
like they did what they did. It's done now. They were my ex-girlfriend for a while. That's fine. But what Barry is saying is what I'm saying. Since you became my ex-girlfriend, and I'm kind of still following you on IG because I can't help myself a little bit here, it's not like you've gotten hot again. You haven't. You haven't. I'm paying attention to what you're doing here, obviously.
You're not bettering yourself.
No, you're not.
After life.
Yeah. It's one of those, it's like, well, I guess I made the right decision. You know, like you have not made me regret anything at this point because you haven't really proven that you are willing to become, the hot model.
Meanwhile,
again.
there's a younger, hotter, sexier team right up the road, too.
Right.
Way hotter.
And they're like way hotter, and it's kind of an accident. Like, it's not even against all odds they've become this.
They're just thirst traps every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. The spring training videos are like,
400 followers to 4 million overnight.
Overnight. Hottest thing on earth. That's right, huh?
And they're not even done yet.
Stavros is pumped. He has got so much content because between the Orioles and the Ravens, he's in the hottest sports town in the country right now.
Correct.
Because the Orioles look like they're going to win 120 games this year.
That's correct.
They look like it.
Right.
If they go get another pitcher, it might be 125. Possibility.
Right.
And then the Nationals are just kind of like, yeah, we're going to keep the team. Okay. Why? Because you haven't done anything that would like suggest that you actually want to try to build a contender again. And so I'm with Barry on this. It was a little passive aggressive, but it was the right passive aggressive, and I think the right amount of it, which was, all right, if you're trying to sell the team, I'm not happy that you stripped it down and you haven't invested in it, but clearly that's what you're doing, and that's what makes it probably more attractive on some level to whatever the final sale price is going to be. But you've been waffling about that for a while, and now you've come around to you don't want to do it. So are we back in business or not?
Right.
And that's what I want to know, too. Are we back in business? Because this offseason was a joke.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
You've done literally, no offense, Joey Gallo, you've done literally nothing.
Right.
Nothing to make the team better. And I don't know what you could do to make them considerably better from where they are, but you could have done something.
Yep.
And it wasn't there. So all I'm seeing is you say you're recommitted to the whole thing, but you're not showing me the recommitment.
And the other thing, I pointed this out yesterday on the line change, which you can listen to 5 to 6 o'clock here on ESPN 630.
You don't have to. You can pump your show as much as you like here. It doesn't offend me.
What I was going to say,
very happy for you.
What I said yesterday was, this was around the time, the last rebuild, where they handed out one big contract, and that was the Jason Worth contract, where it was a 7-year, 128, and people were like, "What the f are you doing?" Because the team was nowhere near ready. Well, 2 years later, they were contenders again. They won 90-something games. They won the NL East for the first time in their history. They had Harper. They had Strasburg. If the rebuild is going like you're saying it and you're presenting to us like Dylan Cruz is going to be the next coming of Harper, they haven't said that, but they're pumping him up like that, and they should. He's a high draft pick. This is when you hand out one of those big contracts. I'm not saying you got to go crazy and add half $500 million in payroll here.
Yeah.
But you hand out one of those deals. Like last time I checked, don't you guys need a starting pitcher? Because you don't have an ace right now on the staff. Like you could hand that contract out right now, 5, 6, 7-year deal, and that guy's just on the roster now.
That's right.
Like I'm not saying you got to do all these moves, but one move would have just been nice is all I'm saying.
Considering once Mark Lerner said, we made this decision a while ago.
Yes.
Well,
yeah. What are we doing
in that
here?
case, well, that's interesting. That
Blake Snell's still out there, guys.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do?
The other line that he says, and I agree with this too, is it's not just about getting players, which they clearly need to do if they want to be more competitive than they are right now. But he said this. It should also be in providing the infrastructure upon which the best franchises are built, paying for unheralded but necessary elements, technology, personnel, brain power across all departments. Listen, I am under good authority, and this isn't a secret for follow this.
Yeah.
They are not retaining top talent across the board.
Never have.
throughout their organization. They lose people.
Never have.
And it is not. It's come across to me that like there is a price and a point, and that's kind of it.
Yep.
And if you like being here, that's it. But they won't go out of their way to retain people, and that's why there's a revolving door of a lot of people within in and out of the organization. And this is sports, so I want to be fair about this because I've worked in it for a long time. There's a long line of people out the door to get in the door because they are coveted jobs. Whether it's on the field, off the field, connection with the organization, they're extremely coveted jobs. So teams and leagues can use that to their advantage and force salaries to whatever they want, and they can determine whether someone is worth whatever they think it's worth. But there's a line out the door in some organizations, and it sounds like the Nationals are one of them,
Always have.
that use that line out the door going, is the guy that I'm going to give, this much less to, who's going to come in here hungry because he's new, is it going to be that much of a drop-off? Probably not. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
Well, your organization doesn't retain talent.
That's correct.
And then, listen, I think Rizzo, it comes off to me that like, it's starting to get to the point where his way of building is kind of a thing of the past. It's not to question his acumen. I don't question his acumen. I know he's an extremely good scout. Like that's not in question here. But the way, and the Orioles are a prime example of this. But the way some of these organizations overcome whatever limitations they have, because it's not a fair and balanced marketplace. Because you've got the Dodgers paying $700 million for one guy, and you've got the Orioles who pay like $80 million for the whole team.
Whole team, yeah, that's right. Yep,
right?
Exactly.
So there's limitations in the way you go about it, but like the guy up there isn't naturally just a great scout. He's building something because they've got an algorithm that works for them, and and clearly they have to scout too. And it seems that the Nationals haven't implemented a lot of these things. So let me see if I got this right. The ownership is not willing to spend on top-tier players that are just obviously good.
Yep.
Right? So like that anybody knows, obviously good. They don't have the infrastructure of what Mike Elias has built in Baltimore and some others have done in other places. So they have the money to be maybe not the Dodgers or the Angels or the Yankees, but not far actually from it. They could actually, because we're a big market, they could do and act this way. They're not doing that. And then the smaller markets, well, the good teams like the Dodgers do both. But like in the case of the Astros or the Orioles, who are the two prime examples of juggernauts that have been built using this kind of algorithmic system to find all of their players.
Tampa,
well, they're not
Tampa too.
Yep. They're not doing that either. So they're not spending like they're a big market team. They're not investing in the style by which rosters are created. Who is this team?
Right.
And Barry's asking what I think in a very nice way is, now that you're recommitted, who are you? And what does all in mean to you? And that's very fair questions to ask of them, because I would say this for a while, what they got in return for Soto, Turner, Scherzer, et cetera, I don't see it. Like I don't see the Orioles. Like I don't see that. I wish that's what it would be, but I don't see it. And I'm not going to kill Rizzo over it, but I mean, like, I don't see it. So, all right. So there's a lot of ways to skin the cat in baseball. You can spend some money. But they're not doing that, right? They're not doing that. And at the same time, they're not building up the farm system with all of these like great scouts that the computers found for them and the eyeballs helped, solidify. What are they?
Yeah.
So and he's asking this, and I agree. If you're all in, what in the world does that mean, all in? And I need you to tell me what that is. And you're not going to, because they're so private and they don't talk about anything. You're not going to hear about it. But that's really what's necessary here moving forward.
What's always been weird to me, too, is, if they were to invest in the scouting side of things and invest into the front office, those are things that pay for itself. You get the players that then you get an extremely good value on when you find one or two of them and you put them on your roster, and they're making $500,000 for the year or whatever that number is that's really low. Like, look at Soto. They had Soto on a international deal. That was a steal of a contract. You didn't have to pay for him, essentially, for his entire time here. That's one thing I've never understood, is if you heavily invested in your front office, you could be the Rays. That's always been my argument here. The Rays sign 1 to 2 contracts, and then they flip guys before they're free agents, essentially. If you want to be them, fine. Just tell me you're going to be them, though. Right now, they're at ground zero, and they're not telling us who they're going to be.
They're not telling us who they're going to be.
Because I think if you
And
if you say to me you're going to be the Rays and you're going to not sign a lot of these contracts, but you're going to flip these guys, fine. I can live with it. At least I know what to expect moving forward.
They've also, in the last couple of years, and again, this is like uncertainty of who's going to own the team. I attributed it to this. But there's been a lot of people in and out of their scouting department that have kind of come through and gone very quickly.
Yep.
Well, that's not stability.
Correct. Yeah,
That's not stability.
That's never been them, though. Ever.
No, and so
that's been going back 10, 12 years now.
this is the way that they're doing business. And you know what? They spent some money on some serious players. They had some very good deals along the way. And they had really good karma and juju going with a particular couple of teams. And it all worked out, and they won. And so I don't want to take that away from them because they have won. So when we criticize all these things and say, what are you going to do? They can always lean back on, we've done this before, and here's the ring to show you. And it's hard to argue with that. But I don't see how it's being replicated at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, at all. And Barry's asking that question, and I am too. What are you? Who are you? What are you about? How are you going to build this thing inside and out? Because the reputation of the organization is that you're not going to be there very long. And even if you do a great job, they're not going to go out of their way to retain you. Well, that's okay. I mean, if that's how you want to run your business, and I know what the score is entering your organization, okay. But that's on and off the field. You're not using modern technology or the modern approach to build the roster, okay. But you also have a lot of money you're not spending, okay. Who are you?
Right.
Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Then there was this other piece that you sent me. Where is this from?
It's from I think it was Washington.
It's got to be like a business journal,
It was,
right?
it, was a local, it was a local one, though. I think it was, hold on here. I've got it here for you. Give me one sec. It was the Washington Business Journal.
Washington Business
Journal.
Journal.
That's who it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they ask the questions I've been asking about why this thing was up for sale in the first place. And they actually
Biz now.
Sorry. So they're doing a deeper dive in this piece on what is the reason why this family is wealthy in the first place, which is they're real estate developers, and specifically in this area, which was, I remember when this came out, what was like a year ago, and they're like, we're selling or might sell the team. I'm like, are they trying to get the Commanders? And I wasn't kidding, because guess what the Commanders need?
Right.
A stadium.
That's right.
And a new facility.
That's right.
And they're real estate developers. Like, that's why I thought maybe this was the angle for them to go do that, because that's their core business. And what's happened down at the Navy Yard is done now. They've already, it's still being built, obviously, but they've developed it. They need to move on to something
90%
else.
done. The bar is done loading, essentially.
But this piece talks about, and this was the other thing that I think a lot of people thought the reason why they might be selling is because since the pandemic, commercial real estate and the markets have crumbled. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of vacancies. And this thing is a very long deep dive into many of the holdings that they have and where it all kind of stands. And they're asking the question, is this a sign that they're keeping the team, that business is actually going to be heading back in the right direction on their core business, commercial real estate? Or are they just keeping the team and surviving whatever this storm is right now? And they've talked a lot about how much pressure they're under to be competitive with a lot of spaces that are under more duress than they ever have been because of vacancy.
Right. And it was also basically timed out with them announcing the sale. They've done nothing real estate-wise in those 2 years, too, which I thought was actually the most interesting part of the piece, was that essentially this has been a 2-year holding pattern, not just with the baseball franchise, but with their business in general. And I also wonder, too, does Ted Lerner, with him passing away, did that cause everything to stop with them? Because they had to all kind of figure out what direction they want to go through with the Lerner business and the Nationals, because they are separate entities.
So, I'm just trying to figure this whole thing out for a while. Did Ted want to sell the team, Ted Lerner?
Yep, right.
Because he'd done what, one,
I always got that sense.
One, they won a World Series. Two, this is a real estate play. Don't kid yourself.
Yep.
It is. And that's fine.
Yep.
Like that's what they do. And you know what? They deserve a lot of credit for altering a part of town that wasn't like that my entire life. So, I don't want to, and I know there's some incidents that are going on down there. There's a lot of crime around the city right now. And I know there's some things going on down there. But, they altered that area in such a positive way. We owe them a debt of gratitude for doing that, but it's also done. And the core business of what Ted Lerner has done his entire career is from Rockville down to the Navy Yard and all parts in between. He's a billionaire because they've developed real estate. Well, that's over with now down there. And maybe he was like, do we really just want to be stewards of a baseball team? Because that's what our job would be here now. And that's not what we do.
Yeah.
But Mark Lerner loves the team.
Right.
And here is, in this piece, they ask him a lot about what's going on, or they ask the Lerners, and nobody, of course, does an interview because they're private. And all they got was the spokesperson said Lerner's real estate executives couldn't comment because they've been busy with baseball meetings. That's interesting.
That's funny.
That's an interesting line. Lerner's real estate executives can't comment because they're busy with baseball meetings. So is this a sign that their core business is going to be sports and not real estate development? Because that is an interesting turn for that company if that's what they're going to do. The one thing that they got, this article in a response, was a written response that said, I can assure you they're solid as a rock, and any decision that was contemplated to sell the team had nothing to do with raising funds, but had everything to do with how much time and effort had collectively to oversee their many different businesses. So they are acknowledging that, like, what happened to the real estate business caused them to focus differently on how to deal with it at the time.
Right.
They were getting leverage to some degree. And that's why part of this feels like Ted Lerner was like, let's get out of this. We're actually a real estate family. I like the baseball team, but like, let's get the money out of this. It's exponentially higher than it was. And let's use it to continue to do the core of the business dealings. Then he passed away.
Yep. Right.
And over the last year, we've heard nothing. And Mark, who really loves baseball.
Always has. Yep.
Because I remember when it first started happening, I'm like, this family really loves the sport. Well, it turns out Mark really loves the sport.
Right.
And his dad, probably probably loved it, but saw this as an opportunity and seized it. And now he's like, I'm a businessman first. The opportunity is kind of done. We've made our money. Let's get out. And Mark goes, but I like it.
Well, and don't discount either. Ryan Zimmerman, remember when they did that Zoom call during the pandemic and all of them were talking with each other, like reliving the championship run?
Yeah.
Zim kept using a phrase, and I still remember it to this day. He kept saying, we might win another championship here in Washington, but we'll never win it like that. Because they came back in every game and they had 3 pitchers that were good and only used those. Like, the way they won it, they're never winning it again.
I know.
And so I think that was also part of Ted wanting to sell, because I think even he was kind of buying into what Zimmerman was saying was, even if I build another World Series team, that rush is never going to happen like it did this 2019.
It'll never happen again like that. But, listen, some owners are like, I'm in this to win. We're going to keep doing it.
That's what I'm getting at.
They're not.
Ted wasn't, but I think Mark is what I was getting at there. I think that's where Ted Lerner was like, I got us to a championship. They won it like that. I got to see Zimmerman's number get retired. Like, I don't have much else on the bucket list. I think that's what happened with him, essentially. Where Mark is going, I like this. I get to keep doing this every single year.
Ted's the patriarch of a company that has made a lot of money. He's one of the richest Washingtonians.
Right.
And I think, to me, it feels like he went, we've exercised as much as we can in this investment. It's a good one for us. Let's get our money out and move on to the next thing. And Mark's like, I like baseball.
Right, exactly.
And Barry's asking, how much do you like baseball? Because here's the reality. I do too, and we all kind of do, but what you're not doing is showing us how to build this back up again. Yeah. Are you going to be able to do that?
The one thing I will say is I know Barry mentioned the fan experience there. I know they're making a bunch of upgrades out there. Like, they finally moved on to the LED lights. So when they hit a home run, they're going to be able to go off and on again. They're getting a brand new screen. That's all by the city, by the way, because the city owns the stadium.
Yeah.
So fan experience should be better on that front.
I mean, the old thought was too that Ted was the person talking to Scott Boras, right? Getting those deals done.
Yes.
As he got older, it would seem to reason that he didn't like the contracts that he was in. He deferred a lot of money. It's a tremendous amount of money. I think the Strasburg one probably felt terrible to them, the way it was going. And so he might have been turned off a little bit by that. That like the cost of doing this at this level is to pay extraordinary sums to people and also get raked over the coals by these agents who have seemingly too much control in our sport. Look at Juan Soto, who's on his 3rd team now, and I'm not going to talk to the Yankees about signing a long-term contract. Well, who are you going to talk to then if you're not going to talk to them about it? And by the way, you play for them now.
Right. Well, Boris doesn't talk to anybody. That's the
And,
whole point.
and so that'll be the other thing. Now that Mark's the point person on all that, can he get those deals done?
That's right. Right. Exactly.
Because since Ted has kind of bowed out from that and then, unfortunately passed away, we haven't seen them do anything like that yet.
Well, this is where we're getting at with spending money because they don't extend anybody. I mean, they extended Keeper Ruiz.
Yes.
That was at a reasonable price too. They bought out years of his arbitration, which is good. That's what the Braves do. Like that was the first time it was like, oh my God, thank you for that. But it wasn't an exorbitant amount of money, roster wise year to year. Does he extend somebody on a legitimate contract? That remains to be seen. They also need one of those players to be worth a legitimate extension, which they haven't had since.
Well, and then the
Zim and Strasburg and Rendon.
The last thing on this and linking the real estate part of it, it would lead you to believe that the real estate business is okay now and gotten through whatever the pandemic is, but clearly there are issues.
They haven't done a thing, though, in 2 years.
They haven't, right? So, but it would read to you like they're okay. That said, they're not spending any money on the baseball team, which kind of also reads like the money's not flowing in the family like it used to.
Right.
So one of two things is happening here. They're not flush with cash to do this, to produce on the field, or they're just choosing not to. And that's one of the questions we need to ask him that he'll never answer.
Right.
What's going on with the business and how does that affect the future of the baseball team?
That's right.
All right, let me take a quick break. Brave Washington Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. If Ted is seeing helicopters flying around Alexandria, it's because Louise from Richmond's flying them. She's got him in the bullseye.
Zach forgot his lucky hat.
Zachary, get your lucky hat. Louise from Richmond, the senator who's the one publicly standing up to the proposal to put the arena that Ted wants in Alexandria for the Wizards and the Capitals and more, tweeted this yesterday. I hope no one took my tweet the wrong way earlier. I'm always rooting for the Wizards in every NBA draft lottery.
Oh!
Who's writing
Zing!
her? Who's writing her social media tweets? Is she doing that? Or does she got some young whippersnapper who's going hot take artist?
That's what I was telling you. I think the Biden administration is like, who's writing those? Can you
hire them?
Can we move you into the city?
The other day was like, I'm 80. I worked in a stockyard. I'm a black woman. I will fight you to the death.
Shipyard.
Yeah, shipyard.
I feel like I need to
shipyard.
distinguish that.
I worked in a shipyard. I'm 80. I'm a black woman. I will fight you to the death. And I would take her. I would bet on her. Again, I reiterate, pay-per-view, Ted versus Louise. Let's go. Let's go.
Winner gets to point where the money goes.
That's right. Back to D.C. you go. So I love her.
Yeah.
All right. Let me, I want to play this J.J. Reddick bite because this is, J.J.'s found a very good way to add, these are the questions I ask when I do these shows every day. How much of this do I have to concoct an opinion for you to get you to listen to this? Or are you just willing to go along with stream of consciousness, which is more my preference? And also, I'm not trying to think about ways to be controversial.
That's right.
But that's just not my way, right? Well, he's on First Take today, and that's what they do.
Yep.
And this is what he said about a particular segment that came up. And obviously, he's been in the news the last couple of days because he basically went after, he actually was part of it.
Yeah.
Went after Doc Rivers,
That's right.
said it's always an excuse. And then he was going at it with Patrick Beverly. And of course, that's meat. That's red meat for all the debate shows. And
That's
so
right.
all of a sudden they're doing that. And so he said this today.
Now I want to address Stephen A's point. Since when is it players' jobs to educate people on basketball? When did that become a thing? When did that become a thing? Isn't that our job? Isn't that our job?
I'll answer.
I do that as my job. That's my job to educate people on basketball.
I'm letting you speak, and then I'll answer.
It's our job, Stephen A., to educate people on basketball. It's our job. And here's the reality. This is the ecosystem we live in. I can do a video on my podcast. I can do a video on my podcast where I break down the last 9 games the Pelicans have used Zion Williamson as the primary ball handler and what type of actions that has led to. I looked it up this morning. 54,000 views on YouTube. But I want to call out a coach yesterday. Oh, that gets tens of millions of engagements. That's the ecosystem we live in. So do fans actually want to be educated or not? Mm-hmm. Do they? Mm-hmm.
He's not wrong. You can hate this all you want. It's the truth of what people want to see.
Right.
This is what Nick Wright wrote, and I've now referenced him a few times. He said a few things that I've actually really liked lately. I don't really watch any of these shows. I just see them, the clips online, because it's just not my style either. And I think it's funny that he's like, let me pull up the curtain and tell you like why we're here, and I'm trying to ask you why are we here. And Stephen A's going, do you know how much money I make here?
Right.
What's hard to figure out?
Right, exactly.
And Nick Wright wrote this, and he goes, I totally understand folks who aren't into televised sports discussion or debate. It's not for everyone. I will never understand someone who is incredibly wealthy, opts into working in the space, and then simply uses the platform to complain about how useless or dumb the space actually is. This is what you're walking into. He's right. You know what the score is. This is what we're going to do. Even part of this clip, an extended version of him, you hear Molly Kiram in the background go, you know this is a sports debate show, right?
Right.
What's confusing about it? Mm-hmm. Like, we're not off script at this point, JJ. In fact, this is what we do every day. Is what we have our meetings that you're in.
Yeah.
Like, don't pretend like, oh, we surprised you with this conversation today. Like, you're in the pre-planned meetings. This is what we're talking about today. You know that. This is what we do. We do it because this is what people want.
Right.
Why are you here if you don't want to be part of it? That's what we're doing.
I think it was more JJ just going in on that because it's making sports fans dumber.
I agree with that.
And I think that's what he's alluding to.
I also agree with him on the, are we at the point that the sports fans don't even really care about the outcomes of the games themselves?
That's right.
They just like the rumor mongering.
That's right. Right. Well, look at what the NBA is. What are the most popular things with the NBA besides the playoffs and the finals?
The best thing they have is the offseason.
It's the offseason and the trade deadline.
Yes,
exactly.
Who's going where? Who's disgruntled? Who doesn't like who? Where are you going to play next?
Yep.
Like, the uniform doesn't matter anymore in that sport, I don't think.
Correct.
Like, less than every other sport. It just doesn't. Mm-hmm. And partially by design now, because the best players don't care which one they wear.
That's right. Yep.
Like, LeBron James putting a Knicks towel around his neck, passive-aggressively making it look like I would like to be a Knick at some point. Like, back in my day, old man Bram would go, that is a red line you do not cross.
Correct.
When you play for, especially when you play for a marquee team like the Lakers, are you kidding that you would actually go on television and do that? And don't tell me it wasn't purposefully. Of course it was. You want to know why I know it was? The Lakers have towels with their logo on it.
That's right.
You could have used that one.
To me, it always goes back to actually the Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving to the Nets one.
Yeah.
Where they didn't even tell the Nets that they were signing there.
They didn't tell the Nets they were going there.
Right.
Kevin Durant left Oklahoma City. It's his right to do so. He goes to a really good team, takes a lot of heat for it. Then he just decides when he gets sick of the criticism of it, he's like, I'm just going to go to the Nets. They didn't even know he was doing that.
When he had a torn Achilles, by the way.
Right. He's just like, I'm going to go sign with. What, are you going to play for a year?
A year, yeah.
And he's like, and by the way, you're going to sign my friends,
That's
too.
Right.
And they went, okay. And then when I heard the owner complaining about this years later, I'm sitting there going, but you never met the guy, and you gave him $200 million because he said he would play for you, and I'd do the same. But, like,
right.
So the uniform doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's right.
The Brooklyn Nets, for some reason, were the vehicle by which he wanted to play. Mm-hmm. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It wasn't because he wanted to go to New York. He looked at it there and he went, I could go there with this person.
That's right.
That person would like to go to Brooklyn as well. Okay, well, let's just do that.
Right. Exactly.
Like, woke up one day, like rich person problems. Woke up one day and he's like, you know what? I'm just going to go live in Miami for a while. I'm just going to go buy a penthouse there.
That's right. Exactly.
No reason. Yeah. Just did it. Now I'm a Floridian.
Right.
I don't think he's wrong. It is, for me, I agree with JJ's sentiments because sports media has become this. There's a really good podcast that Bill Simmons did for The Ringer with a guy who writes for The Atlantic. And it was basically just about the future of, he described it as the future of everything, but he located it into sports. And this was kind of the main topic of it, which was you'd be surprised in terms of just connectivity with people that the vast majority of what they're consuming has actually nothing to do with the games themselves or the outcomes. It's just the chatter around it. Like, they're consuming the highlights and they're taking the highlights and they're making judgments. And then they, like, to JJ's point, would prefer to hear him knock Doc Rivers than to actually watch the Heat play the Bucks.
That's right. Right. Exactly.
What are we doing?
It's
What are we doing?
It's unfortunately, and that's because I'm a fan of this and I use the word unfortunately, it's video game culture. It's you don't actually care about the action happening. It's the precursor or the postcursor, so to speak, of what the results of said game are.
That's right.
But you don't actually care about the game itself.
You don't really care about the game. You
That's
care
right.
about the commentary about the game and then what
right.
comes after it and the controversy that could come out of it and who wants to go where.
That's right. Right. Exactly.
Football seems to be semi-immune to it. I think because of fantasy football. I think because of gambling. And I think because of there's something inherently I think it's the pastime now. So I think that there's some level of people actually need to watch the games to be informed. But the rest of it, you don't actually need to do that. You don't have to know if Shohei Ohtani's good or not. You're just being told that he is, and you just assume that he is. You don't have to watch a lot of Dodgers games to find that out.
I would tell you on football and being the pastime, so many people have played it at some point in their lives. And I guess with football too, it's plays. So there is a pause, and you get to analyze things real fast, even as a casual fan of, oh, they're in shotgun with no one back there. It's a pass play. Like, there's bigger signs, I guess. It's not as fluid, so people actually don't have to think as hard. I think is that like a right thing to say there?
Maybe. Or I think the presentation on television is amazing.
That's true.
And I think there's just something about you're not part of American culture if you're not really keeping up week to week with what's going on in professional and collegiate football in some parts of the country, but professional football. It's our sport. I think you'd probably find this in Europe, in South America with soccer, where you actually have to watch the matches of the big teams.
Right.
But the rest of it's probably the same thing there.
I also think so, too. Football gets something that all the other sports don't. Every play is so important.
Yes.
Every single game.
Yes.
Like I think with basketball, people take it for granted because they go, it's 82 games. How big is this game in the grand pantheon of things? It's not actually.
And even the players are treating it this way, too.
Right.
Like, that's the other problem. This goes back to what happened at the All-Star game and what's been happening with load management and all these different things. The players clearly aren't taking it as seriously as they used to.
Right.
They also aren't loyal necessarily to the teams. They're willing to go different places. It's all willy-nilly now. So the games kind of don't matter.
That's right.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Bram watch the show. ESPN 630 at Sports Capital. Happy birthday to Ben Raby, aforementioned, 40 years old today, part of the Capitals broadcast team. Huge day for him. They did get a McNugget minute goal.
That's right.
Which means Ben gets to go to McDonald's and get some free food
That's
today.
right. Yes, exactly right.
Big day.
Big
So
day.
right on time.
Big day.
I want to win Mega Millions. He likes the McNugget minute when it comes through and Joe screams score.
Sometimes it's the small things in life, man.
That's right, Ben. Get some McNuggets.
Ben would actually be listening to John, not Joe. I'm just saying,
I like sweet and sour, Joe. Which sauce do you like, Joe? All right, so Capitals beat the Devils last night. When I asked you about this as we were going off the air, you didn't even want to talk about it, and you just assumed that it was not going to go well, and they just rolled them. So what's up with that?
Should have gone with my gut here. I had a feeling the Devils played the outdoor game over the weekend, and sometimes you have a letdown afterwards. But I did not.
Yeah, it is a lot.
Especially because it was New Jersey. Like, I don't know if you watched either of the games, but they've leaned in heavily that this isn't New York. This is the Meadowlands. This is Jersey. And so they were the real home team of the whole entire
They bought
thing.
outfits for it. They dressed up like the Tommy Cutlets Sopranos thing and all wore like Italian jumpsuits and took pictures in it.
Exactly. My whole thing for the last stretch here, though, is the Caps only score 2 goals a night. And so can they score 3 against the Devils? Well, they scored 6 last night and completely ran away with this thing. This is one where I'm not going to say I take anything away from the Caps, but I would say to the Devils, this one's kind of on you guys. Like, they shouldn't have lost that game last night. They should have beaten the Capitals, but you show up and you have to play the game, and I guess they thought they were going to show up and beat this team, and they didn't. Also, once again, it's a must-win game for the Caps if they want any chance to win and to get into the playoffs.
They're they got to win 80% of their games.
Of course,
they got 2 teams to jump.
And so what happens? They throw out Charlie Lindgren, which I've said all year long, that when you throw out Charlie Lindgren, you have a chance to win. The thing is, he had lost 4 in a row going into last night's game. So it wasn't as sure of a thing as it has been normal. The other thing here is Alex Ovechkin is officially back. I'm ready to call it.
He had 2 goals last night.
2 goals last night, 2 legitimate goals, not an empty netter. And he has now scored what I think his total is up to 15 or 16. He scored as many off of the break and the game before the break than he did the entire season leading up to the break. So whatever he did riding on camels in Saudi Arabia or whatever seemed to work for him. And now all of a sudden he's scoring at a clip. And I forget who it was just like the race is officially back on. Start getting ready for that to happen.
Yeah, I think the number, if he could get like 8 to 10 more this year.
Yeah.
And then he's 50 and under.
Right.
Then he's got 2 years left on his contract. And then he just really needs one OV year.
That's
if
right.
he could pull that off, and then he could even crawl to it and probably get to it. But
That's
like,
right.
It is still a lot, but it is, he's on a heater, so that's great.
And that's all, like, I think that's all we had asked for out of the break was, can he start scoring at a clip that he did again? That'd be great. The other big one from last night that you need to take away from is Connor McMichael had 2 goals, first multi-goal game of his career.
Well, I saw him say it was his best goal he's scored.
He had this one where he juked some dude out of his skates and then had basically made another move on another guy and scored by himself. That is the Connor McMichael that I've been waiting for to show up here. Sometimes it takes a little bit for these younger guys to develop and really take control. That was a goal scorer's goal and reminded me of the old Caps of like 2008, 2009 when they had the Backstrom, Ovechkin, Semin, Mike Green, those types of guys. They haven't had a guy score a goal like that, not named those guys, in a long time. So maybe this is the beginning, too, where McMichael now starts to kind of push into that next level. He's had a great year, but you've been waiting for a guy like that to take over a game here or there. And look, 2 goals from Ovechkin, 2 goals from him, another from Dylan Strome, who's the team's leading scorer. That's a recipe for success, and if they can keep that going, great. They have a tough task, though, ahead for the next 2. They got to play Tampa and Florida down there in Florida, so we'll see.
What's your tweet about that, Louise? Do you like Connor McMichael? Don't you want him in Virginia? Nick Dowd got hurt, too, right?
That's a brutal one, yeah.
Because they were going to trade him.
They're going to trade him. He's also like the most important player on the team in terms of what he does. He's the only guy that wins faceoffs. He has the 4th line on the shutdown line, which Tom Wilson plays on now, by the way. Like Spencer Carberry has gone full. We need all hands on decks at places where you're not going to be comfortable. Tom Wilson is your 4th line winger because he shuts guys down. So Dowd going out definitely hurts. As far as I know, though, he has not had any kind of listing of what's going to happen. I doubt he plays the next 2 games. But if they can't even trade him, ooh, that's a disaster because you had teams lining up to trade him basically since the offseason. So let's hope it's
And to the original point, I'm glad they won last night. The chances of them making the playoffs is not great if they don't get hot.
Right, of course.
They have to get like crazy hot.
Right. But last night was a great first test. It was a must-win game. The Devils also knew that going in, that they really couldn't concede. It was basically like a 4-point game. They knew they couldn't concede.
If they somehow get into the playoffs, they're going to be so tired.
I mean, whatever. I mean, but you know how this works. It's chaos. All you got to do is get in. It's the only sport.
I know, but they're in the playoffs now every night. Like that's what sucks.
Yeah, but that's the best part about the playoffs for them. Actually, it slows down. Nobody's that fast in the playoffs. It all slows down.
Yeah.
So honestly, they'll be right where they belong if they actually end up getting in. And yeah, we'll see.
All right. Justin Fields spoke. We're going to play that for you next. Brad, watch the show. ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. You're playing Chicago. Is that what you're doing right now? Played a little Chicago.
I didn't even. It was just next. On the set.
That
was just next on the set list.
That was an accident.
Yes, it was.
But you had Chicago on the brain for a moment.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
why not?
Yeah, why not? Usually I'm more calculated than that, so whatever.
Okay. Justin Fields speaks today. He went on Amon-Ra St. Brown's podcast, which they could up the production value on that, guys. Saw some of the videos.
Amon-Ra Brothers. It is both of them.
Oh, yeah. Right. Equinemius St. Brown
That's
as
right.
well.
Yes.
I got to call his games a couple of times over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. Not as popular as Amon-Ra St. Brown.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, Justin Fields went on it with them, which was an interesting place to take some questions, but he did. And he answered 2 things, and it was clipped together here. 1, why did you stop not following the Bears on Instagram, which is the modern athlete's way of saying we're breaking up.
That's right.
Normally.
Yep.
He'll explain that. And also, what do you want to happen here? And he kind of explained that too. So here's the clip.
Since we're here, hold on.
But I mean, we're not comparing.
No. Since we're here,
all right, come on.
What's with the unfollow with the Bears? What's up with that?
Man, bro, I'm glad we're talking about it because why do people take social media so serious? Like,
but like, why are you unfollowing the Bears?
Like, I still mess with the Bears. It's not, I'm just trying to take a little break. I unfollow the Bears and the NFL, bro. I'm not just trying to have football on my timeline. Like, I know y'all mess with a girl, EQ, especially you. Just because you don't follow the girl on IG don't mean you're not messing with her.
That's true. That's true. That's
okay.
fact. That's fact.
So you're saying you mess with the Bears more now that you unfollow them?
Man, it's not even like that.
Okay.
It's something that I don't want to see in my timeline. I'm about to go on vacation. I don't want to see no football. And guess what?
Just get a little away for a little bit.
It's either keep Fields. We want Fields. It's either drive Caleb. So it's like, bro, Man, I'm tired of hearing the talk. I just want it to be over.
I just want it to be over. Okay, so we've been on this, and I don't blame him. He wants to know where he's going.
Right.
And I'm also guessing that there's a lot of teams that want to know if he's really available, and they want to know it now, before the draft and before free agency opens, so they can make a determination. Are we going after Cousins or Garoppolo, I suppose, or some of the other Russ, maybe, as they wait out Denver, what goes on there. These teams need to figure this out. And I don't believe him on the I just don't want football on my timeline.
Well,
I don't believe that.
He's younger than I am, but even I figured out on Instagram, you can just go to somebody's page and mute them, and then you don't see any of their stuff. Welcome to the modern age, by the way, because sometimes you follow people and you're like, oh, I'm good on that, but I don't want to be rude.
I'm so not in that world. I monitor it, obviously, a lot, but obviously I don't post very much.
I have to.
And I don't stalk people on it.
I have to. But, you can go to someone's page. Like, I could go to your page, and there's a little tab that goes mute stories and mute posts. So anytime you post something, I'll never see it unless I go and seek it out myself.
Oh.
So why doesn't he just do that?
I don't know. Maybe he doesn't know that.
No, he absolutely knows that.
We talked about this earlier.
He's 10 years younger than me.
There's a way to get by the do not disturb, but you have to know how to do that.
That's right. But
maybe he doesn't know that.
He definitely does.
I don't know. This is just not my world. I use it. I'm on it constantly, but I'm more monitoring. That's all I'm doing is monitoring.
No, he knows how to do
Also, don't try to explain to me that you don't know by doing that people are going to notice. Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I actually think it's just I want to know what's going on. Just do it. You're not talking to me. You're not telling me what's going on. I did love the little slip of, draft Caleb or keep me,
That's right,
which was so you're not thinking about the other two quarterbacks. It's even he's acknowledging that that's the way it's going.
To be fair, though, I mean, Caleb has been tabbed as the number one quarterback for 2 years, essentially, though, for this draft.
He's going to be.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You will hear all the demerits on him, and there will be the slamming of him.
Right.
It may, if they trade Fields sooner rather than later, then everyone knows what they're doing. And then at that point, maybe a lot of that stuff goes by the wayside because the Bears will have made their choice. So there's no reason to go crap on somebody.
Right,
because that's what happens this time of year, especially when you have a situation like this. There's a lot of money on the line. And so I heard this about that guy stuff starts to happen.
Yep.
Like what C.J. Stroud got last year with the test. The test came out. They tried to nail him on the test. So you'll start hearing all this type of stuff to try to get demerits on people. But if the Bears trade Fields and it's clear they're going to take Williams, that won't actually happen this year. What will happen is the Drake May versus Daniel stuff, and we'll be in the middle of all of that.
Yeah, of course.
If we don't, at that point, announce our intentions.
Right.
Which I don't think we should.
No, of course not. No,
I don't
you
think
have
we
no
should.
reason to.
We have no reason to.
Yeah.
The Bears have to announce their intentions in the next few weeks. They have no choice.
That's right.
They have to either trade Fields or keep him. And if they keep him, then everybody knows, then it's on.
Yes.
And it's a bidding war to try to get the number one pick.
Right.
I don't think they're going to do that, and clearly he doesn't think they're going to do that, even if he's sitting there telling you, I'm still messing with the Bears. It's an interesting way of putting it. I'm messing with the Bears. And then pointed out how Equanimous St. Brown does this in real life with real women, and then he confirmed that was the end. To listen closely to hear that little exchange, which was a bit of an overshare. Yeah. As a producer of your show, St. Brown Brothers, I'd limit some of that stuff. Limit just a little bit.
I mean, they are trying to get views, so I mean,
guess.
that could have been a calculated jab.
The takeaway lines, though, were I didn't do that to say I don't want to be with the Bears, and I just want this over with. Yeah. What are you going to do?
Right.
It really had nothing to do with his dating life and profile, but he did overshare a little bit there.
I mean, I still say, though, people take people take social media so serious. Yeah, dude, because it's our only window into a player in a franchise, and you didn't just unfollow them thinking, oh, yeah, I'll follow them back later on. You knew what it was going to do. You knew people were going to get it talking.
Yes.
Or start chatting about it, yeah.
So that's where we are now with him. So at least he spoke, and I think that was my read on the Instagram thing. It's the easiest way to send a message to the team.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they have to tell you what's going on, but with the combine next week, My gut tells me you're going to hear something like within the next 2 weeks, because we're going to be, we're still what? It's free agency's opening in early March. They've got a team like Atlanta
before then, yes.
The Raiders or Atlanta or maybe somebody else that we're not thinking of.
Right.
Maybe Pittsburgh. Like the teams that clearly are going to looking for a quarterback and are clearly open to trading for one. Like obviously open to willing to do it. And I'm sure there's others that we're not even really thinking of, but those really come to, maybe the Patriots too, come to mind as somebody who would want to do this. Like with free agency opening in early March, you have to get this done because those teams will go in a different direction. The market is best right now to make this trade. It is best right now to make this trade because you get these people on the line. You know, either way, you could gin the market up for Caleb Williams if you do intend to keep Fields, or if you're trading Fields, you have to do it before free agency. Otherwise, there will be groups that drop out. Cousins is going to go somewhere.
Yep.
Russ is going to probably go somewhere. Garoppolo is going to go somewhere. Once that happens, then those teams no longer are in the market to make the trade. So Fields is just trying to push them a little bit, and I believe that within the next 2 weeks you will hear where he's going.
I do want to just point this out because I wanted to look it up. He follows a bunch of players. He follows Bleacher Report. He follows...
well, if you didn't want football in his timeline, you should probably get rid of Bleacher Report.
He follows an account called More Than Sports that has a lot of football highlights on it. I'm just saying.
He can't avoid it. I mean, like that.
Your reasoning sucks, Justin. That's all I'm saying.
It's a lie.
Unfollow everybody then.
We know why you did that. And I'm okay with I'm going to send a message to you. Didn't Kyler do it for a little while?
Kyler did the thing that I think is lame.
He did it.
He didn't unfollow the Cardinals, though, I think. He did the lamer one where he deleted all pictures of him in a Cardinals uniform, which I think is the worst
Some
one.
people do that. Yes.
That's dumb. That's so dumb.
If you're going to that degree, then we obviously know what's going on.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And it's like, it's also petty. Like, it's social media. Do you not want that stuff to be there so you can go look at it later? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like that at all.
They are literally in one of the weirdest spots I've ever seen, this team. Like, he's good. There's no arguing that. He's good.
Yep.
They haven't won very much with him, though.
Right.
You know, and is that his fault? Probably not. But, like, I think he was misused for periods of time.
Sure.
And then they would come around to using him properly, and then... You know, but they still aren't winning very much with him. And if he's that great or that good, then maybe the record would look a little different. Yeah. They haven't really been sniffing the playoffs since he's been the quarterback there. I don't blame all that on him, but there's that. And then on the other side is if this guy is like a next great, it'll be the second time they've passed it up in like 10 years.
Yeah.
It'll be the second time they've done it.
I'm still of the belief, too, like we've had this discussion about quarterbacks lately here. I think you know when you know, and if you're still asking the questions about Fields, then you need to go ahead forward with the next guy.
I
think you can get him.
If I do believe they will get a real good offer for him, like it won't be, and you know it is his year 4, which means you do have to pick up year 5, which is real money next year. And yes, you could just keep him for this year, the next year, and then either franchise him or try, but you're going to pay him soon.
Right.
Soon you're going to do that. You start the clock over with Caleb.
Yep.
Immediately.
That's right. Exactly.
So if that's the case, then I actually don't think this is that hard of a decision. Like, unless they're going to get, even if they weren't going to get a great deal for Fields, I don't know how this isn't. I think there's going to be a market for him, so they are going to get a good deal for him. Multiple teams will probably want him. Like, I would, unless you're a ready-made team, like the 49ers, and they just think, you know what, get Cousins because it's better than Purdy. If they came to a conclusion like that, fine. Name me a better quarterback on the free agent market than him. There isn't.
Yeah,
like not. I mean, I guess you could argue Cousins, but off Achilles at his age, he also hasn't won very much. Like, and he can't do the things this guy can do. Who's better? Like, you're not going to get somebody better than him. So then you got to do it through the draft. Well, you're not getting Caleb Williams because they're trading him. You're not getting the second quarterback because we're taking him, whoever that may be. Now you got to talk to the Patriots, who also, by the way, need a quarterback.
Yeah, right.
I think the market's going to be brisk for him. I think it's going to be, and that's why they have to do it now. There's going to be 4 to 6 teams. They're going to offer something real. I bet they get a first-round pick for him. I bet they do.
I think it's going to be conditional. Like, I think it could get up to a first rounder.
Maybe like a second that becomes a first.
Yeah, like
sure.
a game started or an
It
extension
will
or
not
something
be
like
below
that.
a second round.
Yeah, I
pick.
agree with you.
No
Yeah,
way.
Yeah, I agree.
Like no way. Like it's because there will be multiple teams that want him, and that's why they have to do it now. If they don't do it now, and these guys start signing in other places, well, then those teams go too late, man. Like we had to make a decision. We tried to give you the pick, you didn't take it.
Right, exactly.
So I think that's going to happen. I did read this too, and it was Pro Football Talk, so I believe it. But we still have a lot of time here. They're saying Caleb Williams is heading into the draft without an agent.
Oh, didn't know that one.
Okay, Caleb, don't. Just don't. It's bad. It's a bad move.
That's dangerous.
It's a really, really, really bad move. Especially if there are things that you want to navigate through this process, just trust me on this one. As someone who did that for a short period of time, it's a really bad idea.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like you could have any agent you want, any of them.
Yep. Right.
Vet them out. You choose the one in South Beach. You could have a special about it. Who gets to be Caleb's agent? And make them interview live on TV if you want to be your agent, because that's who you are. You are going to be a superstar. Don't do this. This is a mistake. You don't want to do this. Now, in terms of the contract negotiation, the contract negotiations with the team are actually relatively simple. They're slotted.
Right.
But in recent years, a number of players have wanted certain guarantees. And if that's the case and you want to do something that's a little unusual, you may get it. Let the agent do that. Secondarily, why in the world would you not have an agent walking into the NFL as the number one overall pick and easily the most marketable person out of this entire draft class? What are you thinking? Like, don't do it. It's a bad idea.
I just looked it up just to see what he got in NIL deals. All right, so he did a deal with Monarch Collective. That's the women's sports group. That was a big one. United Airlines, pretty good one. PlayStation, good one.
Yeah.
Aloe Yoga, another pretty good one. He also was with Fanatics, funny enough, with Topps. And he also got deals with Neutrogena and Dr. Pepper, Beats by Dre, and Wendy's.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's thinking,
I've already done this. So, and those deals probably carry over / escalate. You do you, man.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's a bad idea. But go ahead.
Right.
You do you. You do not want to have the conversations that you want to have with the team by yourself.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, right.
Go ask Aaron Rodgers about that. He's an interesting fella.
Right. Exactly.
There's this one other thing. I can't believe I mentioned this yesterday, and here it popped up. Max Crosby's The Rush podcast pops up today because he had his coach, Antonio Pierce, on.
Yes.
He owed him a visit because, Max was the one who stood up and said, you better hire this guy or I want to be traded.
That's right. Yep, exactly.
Adams kind of did the same thing. And, Mark and the haircut, they were like, well, guess we're going to do that.
What did I call him yesterday? Crazy haircut, Mark.
This is old school. This is real old school, but I love this. The Chiefs have actually, Andy Reid said this post the Super Bowl or right around it, that they got their mojo back because of that Christmas game where they got embarrassed at home by the Raiders, where the Raiders couldn't score, but they dominated them defensively and won. I think Aiden O'Connell had like 8 yards passing from the second quarter on, but they won anyway because their defense was stifling against them, which probably is the game that got him this job more than anything. Because he went and did that. It was pretty amazing. And he told Max Crosby this in the week before, because they talked about this, I guess, and he said, in the week before the game, he expressed to the team that they now need to have a hatred of the color red, showed them videos of famous boxing and MMA fights, and how the Pistons approached playing Michael Jordan in the 1980s, which was, different back then because you were allowed to foul people like gratuitously. So it's a different time now. But he showed them this and said, well, we play a game where you're allowed to do this. It's time to go manhandle these guys. And basically, like, don't just assume they're going to walk out here. We're going to respect you. So he said this. We've got the Jordan rules, and what I'm calling from now on, as long as I'm here, the Patrick Mahomes rules. So you remember when Jordan was going through it with the Pistons and all those guys in the 80s before he became Michael Jordan, Air Jordan? The Pistons used to whoop his ass. Anytime he came to the hole, elbows, feeling him, love taps. We touched him. We're in the head, mentality, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I'm touching you. So I showed those guys Jordan getting his ass whooped. This is my favorite thing that I've heard a coach say in a long time. It's from the Dan Campbell place of,
yes,
you know what? We play a very brutal game. You know, no one gives us any respect. We also haven't deserved any respect. Well, we're going to earn it back now. I'm going to show you how. Campbell's is a little different. He's like, I will fight anybody, anywhere, anytime.
Right. Yeah.
Pierce is going, I'm going to take down the king. I'm going to make him bow to us. Or at least if he does beat us, he's going to remember it on Monday. It ain't going to be easy.
Right.
And I love it, and I am for it. And it was like the favorite thing I've heard a coach say in a while. I was like, that's amazing.
Well, they also needed some kind of jump, right? I mean, I think teams and players have become too casual with some of this stuff. Like you know, when I used to work with Doc, what always used to irk him the most was the stupid jersey exchange after the games, right? Because his thing was, the fans, the players, the owners all get super invested, and then seconds after a heartbreaking loss, you're sitting there smiling, exchanging a jersey with somebody. Where it's like, it's not so much about the exchange, it's about you're doing it right after this game.
Yeah.
Do it behind the scenes where no one has to see it, and it's out of the public eye. This is exactly what I'm getting at with Pierce and everyone in the NFL. Everyone is so buddy-buddy. It never feels like there's any real animosity towards anybody except for basically the AFC North. That seems to be the only division that still everybody effing hates each other and the games are super, super physical. Other than that division, he's right. There isn't much of that anymore. And
there isn't
the
much
Raiders used to be that, though, too. So, I mean,
well,
that's the other
Raiders
part
are
about
supposed to be the epitome of this.
That's right, yeah.
They've got
Exactly.
the look, the feel. Now they're in Las Vegas. They're supposed to be badasses.
That's right. Right.
And I appreciate that he's like, start embracing that again. And oh, by the way, no one respects you.
Right.
You guys haven't won anything. You know, no one respects you. And he's getting them to buy into that. Listen, this worked for Detroit and Dan Campbell. That's an amazing thing that he instilled in them.
Yeah.
Like, I think what they did in the playoffs was remarkably stupid, but like it was on brand.
Right. Exactly.
We don't care. We're going to win this way. And he's even got the players afterwards reiterating, we didn't do anything wrong. And it's like, yeah, you did, dummies.
Yeah.
You lost the game because you refused to kick a field goal in the fourth quarter of a 3-point game in the NFC Championship game. But let's not let those details cloud your opinion of how you guys, quote unquote, do it. Like what's wrong with you?
Still so mad about it.
It's just so stupid. Like it's so stupid. But you know what? Like if you guys are happy, then who am I to rain on your parade? Because everybody in Detroit's like, we did the right thing. And I'm like, well, you're not in the Super Bowl. So if you think you did the right thing, maybe J.J. Reddick has a point. You just like the storyline. You don't even care about the outcomes. What do you care?
You're never going to let it go. I've never seen you so angry about another team.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's why they weren't mad about it was like the part that got me.
Right.
Why aren't you mad about it? You could have been in the Super Bowl. You don't know what would have happened. You could have bit Mahomes' kneecaps. You don't know.
You care so much about a team that's not even yours.
I don't know. I respect what they did. I love the momentum. They had the blue wave going around the country. Have you ever seen the Lions like this? It was like I can't believe it. Like this guy called that into destiny. When he had that first press conference, did you believe that was going to happen?
Of course not.
Of course not. It was ridiculous. He said they were going to bite people's kneecaps. He said, I'll fight you in a landfill. Crazy. Just crazy things to say. 3 years later, they were that.
Right.
And you know what? I'll give Pierce credit because he's old school. He's like, you know what? You go put on this uniform, we're going to play them twice a year. We got to go through them.
Right.
So start kicking this guy's you know what. Like, don't apologize for it.
Only because
I like it.
Only because you mentioned him, and I just saw this story the other day. Because you mentioned Pistons Bulls. Have you seen this story with NBA Jam? You remember NBA Jam, right? Where you pick two players or whatever.
Yeah.
Have you heard about what the creator did?
No.
Creator was a massive Pistons fan, and for years people had a suspicion that when you played the Bulls and you were the Pistons, something was wrong. That you would
like there
win.
was like a glitch and you'd win.
He finally admitted this year that he wrote in the code, if the Pistons were playing the Bulls in NBA Jam and the Bulls were winning in the second half, things would start to go wrong for you if you were the Bulls.
That's amazing.
And people had their suspicions for years, and he finally admitted it in the last year.
That's a great 30 for 30. Let's do it. Let's do it.
How good is that?
That's amazing.
He said you'll start missing shots, you'll start turning the ball over, and if you're the Pistons, you're making everything down the stretch if you're playing the Bulls.
One last thing on the Mahomes rule, which I loved, and I loved hearing this. And I've referenced this. I think I need to do this. I now need to do, is Lamar treated differently than other great quarterbacks because here's this coach saying, take him out, like, legally, but
sure.
don't make it easy on him. Like, make it hard on him. Beat him up. Like, that's what we have. It's football. It's what you have to do. And when I watch Mahomes play, or Allen play, but Allen brings it on himself.
Yeah.
Nobody takes it easy on them. Like, those guys are superstars, and they get hit. Like, when they're out there. I cannot remember the last big hit that Lamar Jackson took. And part of me feels like I want to watch this and see, when he's going down, is anyone taking a cheap shot at him? Are they just letting him go down? Are they, like, is there I'll just do my thing, but don't hit me. Or is there some level of respect for him that's different around the league? Because I don't remember cheap shots at him or anybody coming at him or people even talking about it like this. Like, we got to go get him.
I've told you this before. It's the way they both handle themselves right before those hits come. Patrick will troll you. He'll do a quick juke and juke you out of your shoes and then get 5 more yards and then step out of bounds. Lamar goes down. Like, there's a difference there.
Yeah, but you got to beat him. So, like, at some point.
So Lamar slides before you hit him. You can't do anything about that.
Like, nobody takes it easy on Hurts. Like, nobody does. And he doesn't do a lot of that. Like, he's very good at running, but he goes out of bounds or he goes down, he slides.
That's because he's not getting out of harm's way. Like, I think Lamar is just better at it than those guys. And as I said, I've seen Mahomes do it a couple times where Mahomes is running out of bounds and then instead of going out of bounds, he cuts it back the other way and takes 5 more yards from you.
Listen, I got a lot of time on my hands these days. And I might have mouth surgery tomorrow. Maybe I'm going to watch Lamar Jackson games and try to pinpoint moments where I think people could have hit him but didn't. Because I have a feeling that's the case.
Yeah, but don't you also think, too, Lamar has gotten better at avoiding those hits because he knows
he's amazing at it.
Well, he also, if he gets hurt, he knows if he gets hurt, he's not out for a week. He's out for 3 or 4 weeks because he's so wiry. Like,
well, he's the anti-RG3. He, like, gets out of harm's way.
That's right. Right. And guys,
he's an amazing runner who understood when the play was over.
And I think it's a mutual thing with the defenders. They know, okay, Lamar knows he's not getting popped, so hold off on him. Where it's Patrick's going to try to kind of jab you and get an extra couple of yards.
And Allen's nuts.
Right, Allen. Like, I think some defenders like playing Allen because he opens himself up for those hits.
Yeah, they're like, really?
Right,
let's go.
They go for it. Yeah.
Let's go.
Granted, in some cases, Allen trucks you and you look like a dummy.
That's right.
But I think with Mahomes has also sometimes just gone down swinging, so to speak, and guys know I've got to wrap that dude up and I've got to make sure to take him to the ground.
All right.